Hi guys, so today's video is going to be a list of some anticipated book releases. It's primarily summer releases, but I also wanted to include the beginning of June because there's some that I think sound really good that come out basically end of spring. So this is a hybrid end of spring and then summer anticipated releases. All of the books that I'm going to mention will be listed in order of release date, and almost every single one of these is available for request from NetGalley. In fact, so many of these are available that just go with the assumption that all of them are, unless I say otherwise. If you're unfamiliar with NetGalley, it's a website where you can request books early, which would be ARCs, advanced reader copies, usually in digital format, and then that way you can get reviews up before the book is released and kind of get some buzz going for the book. Ironically, the very first one that I'm going to be talking about is not available on NetGalley, which is a bummer because it sounds amazing. It's called For the Wolf. I will be reading descriptions and things from my laptop, so apologies, I will be looking down quite often, but jumping into it. For the Wolf, this is an Orbit release. It's anticipated to come out on the 1st of June, and the description says, for fans of Uprooted and The Bear and the Nightingale comes a dark fantasy novel about a young woman who must be sacrificed to the legendary Wolf of the Wood to save her kingdom, but not all legends are true, and the wolf isn't the only danger lurking in the wilder wood. Don't worry if you feel like you missed something or you don't have time to write it down. I'm going to have everything linked in the description bar, and that way you can see the synopsis again. You can try to pre-order it if there's a pre-order link available. But now, jumping into the next one, all the rest for June are available for request, at least at the time that I did the research for this video. So this next one is called Curse of the Spectre Queen. It is also anticipated for June 1st. And the brief description says, Indiana Jones gets a refresh with this female-driven mystery adventure set in the 1920s, full of ciphers, ancient relics, and heart-stopping action, the first in a brand new series. Next up, we have the Jasmine Throne. This one's anticipated for June 8th, and the description says, imprisoned by her dictator brother, Malini spends her days in isolation in the Harana, an ancient temple that was once the source of the powerful, magical, deathless waters, but is now little more than a decaying ruin. Pariah is a maidservant, one among several who make the treacherous journey to the top of the Harana every night to clean Malini's chambers. She is happy to be an anonymous drudge, so long as it keeps anyone from guessing the dangerous secrets she hides. But when Malini accidentally bears witness to Pariah's true nature, their destinies become irrevocably tangled. One is a vengeful princess seeking to dispose her brother from his throne. The other is a priestess seeking to find her family. Together, they will change the fate of an empire. The next few are all anticipated for June 15th, starting with Blood Like Magic. This one says it's a rich, dark, urban fantasy debut following a teen witch who is given a horrifying task, sacrificing her first love to save her family's magic. The problem is she's never been in love. She'll have to find the perfect guy before she can kill him. Next, we have Curses, which sounds like so much fun. It is yet again another Beauty and the Beast retelling, which I feel like we get one of these every other season, it feels like. But this one sounds really fun. It says, Merit Craven refused to fulfill her obligation to marry a prince, leading to a fairy godling's curse. She will be forced to live as a beast forever unless she agrees to marry a man of her mother's choosing before her 18th birthday. Tevin Dumont has always been a pawn in his family's cons. The prettiest boy in a big family, his job is to tempt naive rich girls to abandon their engagements unless their parents agree to pay him off. But after his mother runs afoul of the beast, she decides to trade Tevin for her own freedom. Now Tevin and Merit have agreed that he can pay off his mother's debt by using his con artist skills to help Merit find the best match. But what if the best match is Tevin himself? So I know we get Beauty and the Beast retellings all the time, but the idea that it's the girl who's the beast and the guy is a con artist who typically tries to get rich girls to like fall in love with him and then the family will pay him off. I don't know. I just feel like it sounds super entertaining. A little bit reminds me of The Shadows Between Us, which was also a ridiculous story. I don't know. We'll see. I think it sounds really fun. Next up, we have Sisters of the Snake. The description for this one says, a lost princess, a dark puppet master, and a race against time before all is lost. Princess Rani longs for a chance to escape her gilded cage and prove herself. Rhea is a street urchin stealing just to keep herself alive. When these two lives collide, everything turns on its head because Rhea and Rani, orphan and royal, are unmistakably identical. A deal is struck to switch places, but danger lurks in both worlds, and to save their home, thief and princess must work together or watch it all fall into ruin. The last one for June is the Tangleroot Palace, which is by the same person who does the Monstrous series, which is graphic novels. And the artwork in those is gorgeous, and clearly the artist must have done the cover for this as well because the cover is amazing. But I think it's just a list. It's a group of short stories, I believe. So I'm not typically a fan of short stories, but I really want to give this one a try. I've read a little bit of Monstrous. I definitely need to read more. But this particular group, this duo, has won so many awards. So this one's definitely, oh man, I don't know. I'm going to have to keep this one either on my radar and see what other people are saying or check it out for myself. At the very least, my husband's probably going to want it because he very much likes Monstrous. Now jumping into July, there's once again only one from this month that is not available for request on NetGalley. I'll let you know when we get to that one, but I'm going to start with Capture the Crown. This one's anticipated for July 6th. The description for this one says that Gemma Ripley has a reputation for being a pampered princess who is more interested in pretty gowns, sparkling jewelry, and other frivolous things. But her carefully crafted persona is just an act to hide the fact that she's a powerful mind magier and a spy. She is undercover trying to figure out who is stealing large amounts of tearstone from one of the Ripley royal mines when she encounters Prince Leonidas Morricone of Morta, her mortal enemy. She tries to steer clear of this handsome prince, but when she finds herself behind enemy lines, she reluctantly joins forces with him. Also coming to Gemma's aid is Grimly, her beloved gargoyle. The beloved gargoyle part is the part that got me, because I'm like, are you saying we're basically getting like animal companion in the form of a gargoyle? Because I'm down. Quite a few of these next few are also anticipated for July 6th, one of them being The Empire's Ruin. I'm not going to go too in-depth with this one, but I wanted to mention it because it's by Brian Staveley, who wrote the Chronicles of the Unhewn Throne, and I know a lot of you are fans of that. I have yet to get to it. It's up there. I want to eventually, but I think it's set in the same world because it's ashes of the Unhewn Throne. So The Empire's Ruin, if you like the other series and you like this author's works, just want to let you know he's got another one coming out. Next, we have Six Crimson Cranes, one of my personal biggest anticipated releases. I'm so excited for this one. But it says, Shiori, the only princess of Kyoto, has a secret. Forbidden magic runs through her veins. Normally she conceals it well, but on the morning of her betrothal ceremony, Shiori loses control. At first, her mistake seems like a stroke of luck, forestalling the wedding she never wanted, but it also catches the attention of Raikama, her stepmother. Raikama has dark magic of her own, and she banishes the young princess, turning her brothers into cranes and warning Shiori that she must speak of it to no one, for with every word that escapes her lips, one of her brothers will die. Penniless, voiceless, and alone, Shiori searches for her brothers and, on her journey, uncovers a conspiracy to overtake the throne. A conspiracy more twisted and deceitful, more cunning and complex than even Raikama's betrayal. Only Shiori can set the kingdom to rights, but to do so she must place her trust in the very boy she fought so hard not to marry, and she must embrace the magic she's been taught all her life to contain, no matter what it costs her. Next up is another one of my most anticipated releases of this year. It would be Half Sick of Shadows by Laura Sebastian. This is the same author who did the Ash Princess trilogy, but I believe that this book is going to be adult fantasy instead, which is super exciting. I can't wait to see how this author does adult fantasy instead of YA. I love both, but I think it's cool when we get a little mix. But anyway, this is a King Arthur-esque retelling, but a little different. It says, everyone knows the legend of Arthur, destined to be a king, of the beautiful Guinevere, who will betray him with his most loyal knight, Lancelot, of the bitter sorceress Morgana, who will turn against them all. But Elaine alone carries the burden of knowing what is to come, for Elaine of Shalott is cursed to see the future. On the mystical Isle of Avalon, Elaine runs free and learns of the ancient prophecies surrounding her and her friends. Countless possibilities, almost all of them tragic. When their future comes to claim them, Elaine, Guinevere, Lancelot, and Morgana accompany Arthur to take his throne in the stifling Camelot, where magic is outlawed, the rules of society chain them, and enemies are everywhere. Yet the most dangerous threats may come from within their own circle. As visions are fulfilled and an inevitable fate closes in, Elaine must decide how far she will go to change fate and what she is willing to sacrifice along the way. Next up, another anticipated release of mine that I'm like super pumped for, which would be Wings of Shadow. This is the conclusion to the Crown of Feathers trilogy. I'm really excited about this one. It follows a group of Phoenix Riders. Because it's the end of a series, I can't say too much about it. This is the one that is not available for request from NetGalley currently at the time that I'm filming this, and I don't know that it will be, but I'm very excited, and it's anticipated for July 13th. Next up, anticipated for July 20th, we have She Who Became the Sun. There is a brief description of this one that I think summarizes it quite well, what it's about. It says, Mulan meets the Song of Achilles in Shelley Parker Chan's She Who Became the Sun, a bold, queer, and lyrical reimagining of the rise of the founding emperor of the Ming Dynasty from an amazing new voice in literary fantasy. Last for July, for the 27th, we have Small Favors. This is by Aaron A. Craig, and this one, the description says, Ellery Downing lives in a quiet town of Amity Falls in the Black Spire mountain range, 5 narrow peaks stretching into the sky like a grasping hand, bordered by a nearly impenetrable forest from which the early townsfolk fought off the devils in the woods. To this day, visitors are few and rare, but when a supply party goes missing, some worry that the monsters that once stalked the region have returned. As fall turns to winter, more strange activities plague the town. They point to a tribe of devilish and mystical creatures who promise to fulfill the residents' deepest desires, however grand and impossible, for just a small favor. But their true intentions are more sinister, and Ellery finds herself in a race against time before all of Amity Falls, her family, and the boy she loves go up in flames. Now getting into August, we're going to start with a Dragonbird in the Fern. This one sounds really good. I love the cover, and it's anticipated for the 3rd of August. The description says, when an assassin kills Princess Giara's older sister Scylla, her vengeful ghost is doomed to walk their city of glittering canals, tormenting loved ones until the murderer is brought to justice. While the entire kingdom mourns, Scylla's betrothed arrives and requests that 17-year-old Giara take her sister's place as his bride to confirm the alliance between their countries. Marrying the young king intended for her sister and traveling to his distant home is distressing enough, but with dyslexia and years of scholarly struggles, Giara abandoned any hope of learning other languages long ago. She's terrified of life in a foreign land where she'll be unable to communicate. Then Giara discovers evidence that her sister's assassin comes from the king's own country. If she marries the king, Giara can hunt the murderer and release her family from Scylla's ghost, whose thirst for blood mounts every day. To save her family, Giara must find her sister's killer before he murders her too. Also anticipated for August 3rd is A Lesson in Vengeance, which honestly, I don't know why I'm interested in this one, because the short description says, for fans of Wilder Girls and Ninth House comes a dark, twisty, atmospheric thriller about a boarding school haunted by its history of witchcraft and 2 girls dangerously close to digging up the past. And the reason I say I don't know why I'm interested is because I haven't read Wilder Girls and I'm not really that interested in that one. And then I didn't like Ninth House, but I'm still interested in this one. I don't know. That brief synopsis, it's got me intrigued. Next up, anticipated for August 10th, is Mark of the Wicked, and the brief description of this one says, a young witch tries to unravel the mystery of who is framing her for dark magic in Georgia Bauer's creepy YA debut fantasy, Mark of the Wicked. So I won't read the full synopsis. I think that gives you a good taste, but I don't read too many fantasy thrillers, but I'm definitely wanting to. I don't know. That sounds kind of fun. Next, for August 24th, how many of you knew that Anthony Ryan had a new series coming out? I did not know until recently. I'm very excited because he wrote Bloodsong. It's the only book of his I've read, but I loved it. I still need to finish that series. I need to read a bunch of his other ones. But either way, this one, it's called The Pariah, and the description says, born into the troubled kingdom of Albermain, Alwyn Scribe is raised as an outlaw. Quick of wit and deft with a blade, Alwyn is content with the freedom of the woods and the comradeship of his fellow thieves. But an act of betrayal sets him on a new path, one of blood and vengeance, which eventually leads him to a soldier's life in the king's army. Fighting under the command of Lady Evadine Corlane, a noblewoman beset by visions of a demonic apocalypse, Alwyn must survive war and the deadly intrigues of the nobility if he hopes to claim his vengeance. But as dark forces, both human and arcane, gather to oppose Everdene's rise, Alwyn faces a choice. Can he be a warrior, or will he always be an outlaw? That just sounds so good. Oh my gosh. I'm so excited for that one. That one is not available for request, though. But still, it sounds amazing. On August 31st, also not available for request currently anyway, we have Dark and Shallow Lies. This one I would keep an eye out, and the last one as well, because sometimes it just, you need to wait until closer to the release date for it to be available for request on NetGalley. So if you're interested in these last two, keep an eye out. But this one, the brief description says, a teen girl disappears from her small town deep in the bayou where magic festers beneath the surface of the swamp like water rot in this chilling debut supernatural thriller. And I don't feel like we get too many, I don't know, I just don't feel like we get too many swamp settings in these sorts of stories, so that alone has me intrigued, plus the cover is pretty. That's it for some anticipated summer releases and a little bit of spring releases as well. Let me know if there are any I didn't mention that you are also excited for, because I'm sure I missed quite a few, but I will have all of these linked in the description bar down below, or at least if I can find pre-order links, I'll have them. But anyway, thanks so much for watching. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you all later. Bye.